Some agents really enjoy the mentorship kind of side of things. Others don't. People aren't obligated to take on mentees or anything like that. Like if you enjoy it and you like the supplemental income that it provides, and again, you enjoy that kind of teaching, developing thing, awesome. But if you don't, that would be horrible if like I just forced all these obligations onto a top producer that like didn't want that. It really as well comes down to like making sure that we're in tune with like what agents are looking for.
Well, happy New Year. This is actually the first episode we're recording Jan 3rd. It's Friday. Happy Friday, y'all, for whoever's watching this show. And it's 1:03 Mountain Standard. I was just talking to our guests about the fact that Arizona is the one state that doesn't change the time. I don't know, we're kind of like that rebellious state. And everyone else talks about California, like, hey, we're going to stop that, but they haven't stopped it. So super excited. We're going to be meeting with someone today that wants to help you 2x your real estate business over the next 12 months. He's a team leader. He's someone who's been in real estate for quite a while. He's with EXP, has his own brokerage, or should I say team. And we have Kyle Draper to the show of Real Estate versus Technology. Excited to get into your backstory, why real estate, how you're showing up for your team, and give some people practical actions, man. What can they do to really, have more success in 2025? We're at the beginning of the new year, man. It's crazy.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thanks for having me. I'm really excited to dive in with you.
Yeah, of course. So before I get into your story and all the type of things, I want to ask you just personal questions on my side, like being a team lead and serving and supporting your team, and then coming off of like a New Year's, right, and Christmas, and just kind of like you said before we got on the air, it's like a little slow, kind of going stir crazy, like ready to ramp things back up. Like, how do you ramp up your team? Like, how do you ramp yourself up? Like, what do you do vision boards? Do you talk about the goal setting for the year? Like, what are some things that you do to help you really get additional momentum, if you will, for the new year coming?
Yeah, totally. I mean, we ended last year with a lot of business planning, a lot of goal
Yeah.
setting. And it was fun because of course we got into the like, okay, you need to have X amount of conversations, set X amount of appointments, sign X amount of that whole kind of numbers game, which is super important that everyone, has that dialed in. But what was fun is we also did an exercise that was much more kind of like zoomed out.
Okay.
Getting more to like the why, getting into like personal habits that we're either trying to improve upon or shed, things we could be doing better with our like, partners and spouses. And it was cool because like we all then shared as a team. And I think that's important to just kind of, like remind everybody why we do what we do. And we learned so much about like our team members from it. It was cool. It was a very like intimate share. And so we were very structured with like, we're going to go and like gas pedal to the floor through December 23rd. And then we are going to chill a bit until January 2nd. So we were very structured with like what our kind of time off looked like.
I like that.
Of course, there's still deals going on. And of course, there's like appointments here or there. And so you're not totally off. But like, for example, I run a morning Zoom with my team every morning from 9 to 10 a.m.
Okay.
And like, we did not do our morning Zoom, during that chunk of days. So it was really nice. I think it is like really necessary to have that kind of reset. I know for me, it helped, charge my battery. But, now that we were back, it was like, look, we made a commitment that we're taking this time off, and then we're going to start at the same time again on the 2nd. And there's just so much like excitement and kind of urgency that can be created when you're hitting it hard at the start of the year. I mean, we're very big on like having plans for everyone's spheres, like we do online leads that's supposed to help supplement your income, but we absolutely want like sphere cultivation, whether it's like the frog script or Ford script, like family, recreation, occupation goals. That's frog.
Yeah. I love that.
Really good stuff, especially for this time of year where you're reflecting, you're getting more intimate with your, your friends and your past clients and your sphere and whatnot. You're getting intimate on like what last year looked like, what next year looked like, or what 2025 now looks like. And it's just such a great time, especially like these last few days, because a lot of our clientele, a lot of the people that we're calling are not going back maybe until Monday or maybe even a little later. So just really trying to create that urgency of like, right now, you're going to have great conversations that are going to set yourself up really, really, really nicely for the year. And we want to capitalize on that big time.
That's super smart. I didn't think about that. And if you agree, viewers and listeners, definitely viewers, and putting it on the screen, do you agree? If you're watching this on YouTube, but it makes a lot of sense. It's like, I like how you said we're going to do it before the year starts. So you're setting that intention. I love the fact that you also put emphasis on that, like, hey, like, let's just set the intention. 23rd of December to the 2nd of January, like that's going to be the time to chill. And then very strategically played from the perspective of like, hey, now's the time to go deeper, because past clients can be friends. Anyone viewing and listening out there, right? So checking in or hanging out, or hey, you want to catch dinner, right? During that time where it's not quote unquote work. It's a write-off, no, but the dinner, but it is an opportunity for you to do that and stay kind of consistent with that check-in, how things going, whether it's sending a text, making a phone call, having lunch or dinner. I think that's super, super cool and very, very strategic. And it's nice. I think for me, I never really thought about the idea of like setting the intention of like, from this time to this time is off time, 23rd to the 2nd. That's kind of what came up also for me and also our team from our sponsors on Liftoff Agent side. And that's definitely something that I'm going to think about moving forward for next year, to be able to be a little bit more deliberate with like time frames, I guess you could say. And then totally. I like that. That's super strategic.
Well, it helps too, because like without that, I feel like it's so easy to like just after Thanksgiving to just be like, okay, like we're downshifting pretty hard and we're cruising, and then getting back into January, it's like, yeah, we're at about January 20th. I guess it's time to like shift gears again. But what I was preaching to the team the whole time was like, we hit our goals for 2024, which we're super pumped about. Our goal was 100 units, and then our stretch goal was 100 million, and we ended up being about 115 units, and then we hit that 100 million figure.
Congrats.
And so it's like we're riding that energy and momentum, and we like how that feels, but we're setting our goals bigger for next year. We're trying to do, what is it? 200 units, and then 175 million in volume. And I was like, guys, there's no way we're going to hit that if we are underperforming in our January closings, underperforming in our February closings, which historically, at least for us, those are the toughest months, because the January closings are deals that you put together in December, and then obviously February would be you put it in January. And so it's just like you have to be so intentional to like keep that momentum going. And I'm really pumped up. I mean, we closed a deal yesterday, like the first business day of 2025. Like we had a closing, and that's cool. And that's just because we were so intentional with like, just making sure that we're not just like patting ourselves on the back and then we'll focus on our goals, come spring of next year. No, we have to focus on our goals, and really Q4 of 2024 is what sets up the Q1 for 2025. So we've been just pretty good about being intentional with that.
I love that, man. I love that. That makes a whole lot of sense. And I think that, momentum is real. And if you're not setting those intentions and really being 10 steps ahead, then what are you doing? And it's so easy. Who's listening and viewing right now? It's just like, oh yeah, I'll get started the first, second, third week of, January, and you're just kind of slow and getting into it. And then you ask yourself at the end of the year, like, why am production? Where am I at? Why am I not where I want to be? Well, Kyle straight said it. So I'm curious to talk a little bit about like the team structure, team dynamic, how many agents you have. For anyone out there that's listening can relate to that, and or who knows, maybe someone's out there like interested in potentially by the end of the show, sending you a DM or reaching out to you, giving you a call, an email, and maybe in the LA area want to join your team. So how large is your team, and what does the structure look like from that dynamic?
Yeah, we're at 35 agents, give or take. Right around there. And then we have 3 US staff and 2 international staff right now.
Congrats.
And yeah, we're a team that like, kind of like I was alluding to earlier, like we really focus on like putting a custom plan together that's specific for each agent, because there's really not a one size fits all approach. We have some agents who like door knocking. Probably the majority of our agents hate door knocking and don't do it. Some like it and do it though.
Yeah.
So it's always just a matter of like, what is your skill set? Do you have access to certain networks? What's your comfort zone, your uncomfort zone? And so we put together like custom plans for each agent, knowing that like of the 4 or 5 lead gen pillars that each agent should have, online leads will for sure be one of them. That's just one of the things of being on our team is I provide online leads.
Love it.
And then obviously like sphere past clients is a like absolute must focus. And collectively as a team, we have like strategies that we try to implement, at the same time and whatnot. So yeah, that's just kind of like in a nutshell, how we're structured. We're very geographically spread out. That kind of happened just circumstantially because of COVID actually.
Okay.
Before COVID hit, I thought that I had a vision of we were going to be like in the office every single morning for our morning huddle. It was going to be really kind of intense, and if that only attracts a small number of agents, that's fine.
Yeah.
And COVID hit, and that forced us to go Zoom for our morning meeting. And that was really one of the best things that could have happened to us because, well, number one, there are super valuable agents on our team that, are able to attend our morning Zooms, like as they're driving home from dropping their kids off from school and whatnot. So just the net that we could cast in terms of like, does this work for people with different places in life, different lifestyles and everything? We're pretty broad in that sense. And then geographically, we're super broad because we had agents like approaching me in the Inland Empire, which for context, that's a good hour and a half or 2 hours away from our office in Culver City. But approaching me and saying, hey, my friend so-and-so's on your team. They're saying they're having a great experience with it. Can I join even though I'm way out here? And I'm like, well, I guess I just need to buy leads out there, but everything else is the same. And I don't mind driving out for like listing appointments and going shoulder to shoulder and whatnot. So we really just have a wide footprint right now, which I love. Because from a team culture standpoint, like, there are absolutely agents that like overlap territories to a degree, but it is not at all like we are a local brick and mortar, office or whatever that's like mailing to all the same sellers. Where like if I share what's working really well for me, maybe that's taking food off of my plate because so-and-so is going to do the same thing, and that dilutes the effect. Like that's not at all the vibe whatsoever. We're incredibly sharing. And we're also incredibly intentional about having like a monthly, like fun in-person, team event. And, because the agents out in the Inland Empire, for example, they're not going to drive to the office for just a casual meeting. That makes no sense. But they do drive for the more fun, cultural, like team building stuff, because that is super important to everybody. That's a big part of why agents join teams, is for that community, the kind of family feeling of it. And so I feel like we've kind of just blended this like hybrid in-person, hybrid Zoom model. And, then for me, like I'm going out to as many conferences as I can and just trying to put our name on the more like national map. And it's nice because it's not like we're just niche in one little pocket of LA. Like if you have a SoCal lead, like we can cover it basically. And so it's fun to be able to play matchmaker with leads. And then most recently, the LA Clippers approached us.
Really?
Yeah, they approached us to be a small business partner, like covering the space of residential real estate, basically.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's so cool. I mean, like to put our brand alongside an NBA franchise is like a dream come true. I'm a huge sports fan.
Dude,
and I asked them, I was like, why did you guys approach us? And they were like, well, you're like your production map, like on Zillow, you see all the little dots all over, like we're all over. And they're like, our fan base isn't like a niche pocket of LA. Like we liked it, we'd be partnering with a team that can service, a really wide demographic of the fans and everything. So I was like, man, this was so not intentional at all, but I love that just circumstantially it kind of like really defined the fabric of our team. And it's had a lot of cool benefits that I didn't envision, but I'm here for it.
That's super cool. I think there's something to be said with that, and congratulations, because when you set the intentions and you have the goals and you know what you want to do and how you want to, you don't always know how to get there, but you know that like, hey, I'm going to be intentional from leads or making phone calls, and you just kind of rinse and repeat, right? Your standard procedure, operations, KPIs, what have you. And then like you get approached by, NBA team. Like that's super sick. And it's cool that you went more of the untraditional, now I guess you could say kind of traditional Zoom route, because it does give parents an opportunity to do what they need to do. And, I feel like it's less stress from like, okay, I gotta rush to drop off the kids. I gotta go get to the office. And then, I got pulled over, or I got a flat tire, I gotta find parking, depending on if you're in a, bigger building and it's like commercial district, or if it's like a smaller kind of building that has like a nice parking lot. There's so many variables. And I think that's where COVID just made it kind of open people's eyes to the fact that like you can expand and you can be in different places, which is super cool. Yeah. And it seems like by default it's winning.
No, totally. And just even from a like organizational standpoint, like if an agent needs help with something, it's just like, hey, like want to jump on Zoom real quick, and like we'll just like, you can just be so efficient with like still being, face to face, diving in, well, I guess screen to screen more, but
I love that.
We're just constantly jumping on and screen sharing, and just maybe it's just a little 5-minute session or whatever, but like it's just really, really keeps the momentum going. Where we're not, like waiting for like somebody to come back to the office from their lunch break and all. It's just a lot faster paced. And even on the consumer side of things, like, it's always better if we can, I still think it is better to have like your buyer and seller appointments in person. I think it is worth sacrificing that drive time, but still a lot of clientele just doesn't want to do that, or it doesn't make sense for whatever reason. And so like if you're stacking just like buyer consultation, right? I mean, during COVID, it was just crazy. Like we were, just in a period of like 4 hours able to have like 4 buyer consults, and like you can't do that if you're commuting all over town.
Wow. No, I love that. But it gives the end consumer the opportunity to, you have time, you want to meet in person, fantastic. If not, I can imagine the older demographics probably like touchy-feely in person. The newer demographic, millennials are probably like, I'm busy, I don't have time, let's get straight to the point. What does this look like? So you have that flexibility, which is really cool. And I have to say kudos to you too, Kyle, because I like how you're not just one of these individuals who just is like, hey, I got this coaching platform. You're building your downline to 3,000 plus agents, like some of the ones out there that are not producing, they're not in production. And you're going more custom specifically to the agent style, knowing what they need, and then giving them like, hey, here's what you're going to get as far as tools and resources and leads from the beginning. So you can, get excited about opportunity, and then you can deep dive and show them like, okay, sphere of influence, making these calls, going through this process and what have you. I think that's really cool, because I feel like a lot of these individuals now, after the EXP, the cloud-based real models have now got out of production, which there's something to be said about kind of like losing touch. I feel like, it's like, you can keep talking about all the things that you did 5 years ago when you door knocked and did all the things, and there's some things applicable, and things do shift and change, and you don't have any new stories if you're not like in the thick of it.
Yeah, no, I completely agree and relate to that. And even just on my production team, last year was the first year in a few years that I got back into like personal production to a degree.
Nice. Congrats.
Thank you. Which was awesome for all sorts of reasons. Like you just said, I think as a leader, having your finger on the pulse and speaking with real, especially with like the NAR, just so much change happened last year. So to be in the weeds and to be having the conversations directly with the consumers, like better understanding the, pushback areas, the areas that we need to expand upon. I think it's super important. And then financially, just as a team leader, really, really nice to kind of go back to having a few throughout the year. I'm not trying to set production records by any means, because managing 35 agents is a lot of work.
Yeah, I can imagine, dude.
But still, to be able to sell, especially in our market, I sold multiple $3 million homes last year, and that just financially, being 100% on that rather than more of a fractional piece of the pie, like most team leader income is, like it really, really, really has helped. And like, to be just fully transparent, last year was, we started the team in 2020. And the first year I was still very much in production because we were really small. So I was able to be very hands-on still, and kind of basically just have like a true partnership kind of model with each agent on the team, you can't scale that though. Like I can't do 50% of the showings as we like, and so the first year was very profitable and great. But then years 2 and 3 of the team were a lot tougher, because I knew that I still wanted to grow and still go big. And that's really just because I'm friends and model myself after some other team leaders that I see what they're doing. I really see myself in the same lane as them, and I'm just very attracted to that vision. But and this is probably a whole other topic, but big team is not for everyone. Yeah. But there's growing pains, because like once you realize that the current model of you being deep in the production with your agents and everything, you can't expand upon that. That was our first kind of kink in the road with our growth, really, was like, I realized I have to restructure things a bit. I need to pull myself out a bit more. And that's kind of considered more the messy middle you hear people talking about, where, once you get to like maybe like around 8 to 10 or so agents, again, you can't be as deep in the production with each agent as you once were. You're going to need certain staff at that point. You're going to need certain like high-end tech resources. You need lead partnerships and whatnot. So your overhead really expands at that point in time. And you're almost in an arms race to just like grow your agent count as quickly as you can from that like 10 or so agents to like 30 or so. I feel is like right where it starts to get a little easier, because your overhead is pretty similar regardless of that 10 to 30 agent count. And so if you have more producing agents that are helping supplement the income and getting hitting that overhead figure quicker for you, makes the world of a difference. So last year was really the first year where I was like, okay, this is nice. Like I enjoy this. I'm no longer like, damn, I was a solo agent and I had no overhead and I made all that money and I didn't have like 35 agents who want my attention all day. but last year was great, because again, we kind of hit that piece. We added a lot of staff too that took a lot off of my plate and let me focus on more of the team leader stuff. And then I can like sell a little bit on the side and, make some nice checks and really just get back to like a more comfortable like income kind of thing.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that, because we've had guests on previously and just being agents over the years, even with the lift off agent side, it's like they talk about that. It's like going from production to building the team and then getting out of production only because you need to focus on the team. And then like, where are you at in regards to like that next level and that balancing act? Because you're right, like individuals out there who's watching this, who wants to be in your lane, it's like you could sell 50, 60, 70 transactions a year and make so much with so little overhead. But then there's something to be said about like serving others, supporting others, like your legacy, right? It's like, okay, cool, money's great. And that you could like buy watches, cars, whatever, travel, have passive income from investment opportunities and properties you can buy from those big commission checks. And, but then it's just like, okay, cool, but how do I serve and support and help and actually see my efforts affect someone else and then their family, and then see them potentially want to grow a team. And then, you have that snowball effect. And I feel like I can relate to you on that perspective, from the perspective of like, it's better to grow your legacy and grow other people's, like opportunities and from your efforts and see them grow. It's like, I can imagine that feeling alone could be like, wow, like I did that. Like that was my ideologies. And then I coached and mentored, and then now they adapted to the ideologies, and now they're having the success and even maybe having greater success than maybe you imagine for them. You're like, just pushing them. The next thing you know, they're like, oh, wow, like you're crushing it. So kudos to you for going in that direction, and moving forward with that process, and then going back into production. Then you could still be able to probably bring agents with you on listing presentations or whatever, and kind of show them the ropes and have some fun. Totally. Do a round robin or something, I can imagine.
Yeah, no, I mean, so well said, man. You really nailed it on the head with like being passionate about building other entrepreneurs. Like if that is not a true thing, and especially, enjoying teaching and enjoying seeing people grow, like if that isn't something that really speaks to your soul, like don't grow a big team. It's just that simple. So many people just, you see like, oh, the big teams are the ones that put up the big numbers and get the recognition, all that. So like people feel they need to do that just because that's like the trend or direction. But
yeah,
absolutely, it's not worth it unless, like you said, you really are passionate about that. Because it would be way more profitable to, have 30 agents on like a 50K a year salary with like small little closing bonuses, put every closing under my name, which by the way, we're Serene Team very intentionally, not the Kyle Draper group, very intentionally. Um, and that would be infinitely more profitable than running more of the traditional model where you're building entrepreneurs and you have agents on your team that are like starting to make life-changing money and, like you just said, buying investment properties and all that. One of my buddies from college actually is that example on our team. He's our number one producer, and I've seen how real estate just changed his life, changed his family's life, and set them up on such a great track. And that means the world to me. And that you don't get when you do the like salaried agent model where, the guy on the top's just the one like making all the money and whatnot. So,
dude, I love that. And I got a question for you from the perspective of the team name, because we had a guest on the show and his name was on the team. And what came up for him is he was dealing with a scalable issue because everyone was expecting him because his name was the team. So you didn't do that and you went in a different direction. So why did you select the name that you selected? Like, how did you even did you already know that was something that like you were intentionally about? Like you didn't want to have your name on there because you didn't want to have to like meet all these people and have your name on all of it. Like, how did you come up with that? Like the name and also kind of know before?
Yeah, our name is Serene Team. And the logic behind that is that the consumer views, especially if they're a first time home buyer, home seller, it can be very stressful for them. And so we want to bring that like serenity to the process. Like brand ourselves with a very calm, tranquil approach for what a lot of people view as a very stressful, chaotic, and of course it can get that way. And it kind of sounds like Dream Team, Serene Team. There's a little bit of that too. And so, yeah, that was kind of the logic behind it. But really, I mean, just in terms of why Serene, but to your bigger point of like, why isn't it under my name? You're exactly right. But with just not wanting like if a client is frustrated that it's like, oh, well, get me Kyle, like I don't want that, obviously. But I'd say even bigger than that is, I know that if I were an agent on a team, I wouldn't be on that team very long, I don't think, if it was somebody else's name. Like, I don't know if that's just my ego or what.
I agree.
But like, I love that people on Serene Team can just take full ownership of the brand. Like it's their brand as well. Yeah. And they're not shadowed under like the leader's name. I think that plays a big part of our retention, especially the retention of some of our more senior, like high producing agents that would absolutely have great careers as solo agents, but just still identify that Serene Team is the best vehicle like for their business. I really think that it not being my name is a big part of that.
I love that. If you agree, give us a comment down below if you're watching this on YouTube, because that's a big point. I definitely agree with you. I think that makes a whole lot more sense to get behind a name that's going to be more universally like used instead of it being like your name. And like, I feel like we've shifted from like, back in the day, it used to be like king and queen, right? And then like the name was like the family name, and you want to bring that down generations. And now it's just like, I like how you name it something that's going to help people understand, like, we're going to try to make this as serene as possible. And it's stressful, but like, I like that approach with that. So question for anyone who's viewing and listening, and what have you done from the retention standpoint? You said you had some senior agents with you. They can obviously go on their own, but they stick with the team. The name's one of those things, but is there anything specifically you do, some catalyst that helps them feel, I guess, more ownership for the team? Or do they also help or serve within the organization and mentor, or what? How do you keep that retention up?
Yeah, all sorts of ways. I mean, definitely encourage like them to lean into like the leadership and growth. And it's interesting because some of our original members really have loved the growth, and really leaned into their like leadership roles. And I think others, like we actually, one of our founding members recently left, and it was very, very much hurt my heart, but it is all good at the end of the day. Like again, I always want the agents, like if somebody no longer is identifying that we're the right vehicle for their like for their growth, absolutely, you know, go explore. I'm a leader where the door is always open. I mean, unless there was like some crazy weird, I've had to kick out a couple agents over the years just because, you know, there was like a toxic vibe. So they're no longer welcome. But
Yeah.
if it's the conversation of like, Kyle, I love you, I just really feel a calling to branch out on my own or do this and that, great, you know, like I support that. And like the door is always open, you know, to come back basically. Um, you know, and in terms of retention too, it's like, yes, some agents really enjoy the mentorship kind of side of things, others don't. And that was something that I needed to really understand as well, is that like, you know, people aren't obligated to take on mentees or anything like that. Like if you enjoy it and you like the supplemental income that it provides, and again, you enjoy that kind of teaching, developing thing, awesome. But if you don't, like, that would be horrible if like I just forced all these obligations onto a top producer that like didn't want that. You know, so that's kind of like situational and case by case. And you know, it really as well comes down to like making sure that we're in tune with like what agents are looking for. For example, my number one agent doesn't want team leads right now, and that's fine. Like we don't have any requirement where you have to work our leads. I mean, of course, like I want our talent working our leads, but the context with our number one agent is he's just really built a great sphere business over the years. Like in terms of sphere, like he is so textbook. Like he's the guy calling people on their birthdays, so intentional about like, you know, coffee dates with friends and all that. Really has dialed it in, and now has a past client like repeat business that is thriving. And he had his first baby, I think February of this year. And so he took some time off, and we paused his leads then. And then when he came back, he was so busy with just his sphere work and past client work, and he's not trying to work quite as hard as he used to because he has his first child, and he should be downshifting to a degree and enjoying that. And so, you know, for him, he's like still now, even in almost a full year later, you know, we recently had the conversation about like, we'll keep your team leads turned off because that's what you want, and that's fine. You know, he's thriving with his sphere business, and he has a better split with his sphere anyway. So it makes all the sense in the world. So I think just being like nimble and adaptable too to like what's important to people, and really not losing sight. Like, it does get hard the bigger you grow your team, but you know, one-on-ones are still very important, you know. Like agents can constantly, like if we're prepping for something or they want help with something, like it's all the time where I'm jumping on Zooms in more of a one-on-one fashion. But we do like very structured like quarterly one-on-ones where like we really review like numbers, we review the roadmap that we put for each of the lead gen pillars, we make tweaks if we have to. Our Q4 one last year was like a big end of year thing, and then putting our projections and goals for next year. So I definitely think that is super important, to not lose sight of like that kind of one-on-one. And, you know, like a lot of people like joined because of that in the first place. And so I think you really have to be mindful to preserve that. Now, I didn't do that for every single agent on the team. If somebody's brand new and they're still getting the wheels turning, we have other team members that kind of help with more of that. But for the producing agents, you know, and December was a really busy month for me just because it was like, holy shit, like a lot of these, and these are like hour and a half Zoom, like they're really long and intense and draining and stuff, but it's important.
Wow, man. Congratulations on all that. And I can only imagine like how you would feel like in person responsible for someone who's leaving. Like it's like, congratulations, of course, and you want what's best for them. And when you put the heart and soul into your staff, or can't even say staff, to team members, you know, I'm thinking on my terms, but you know, team members, it's like, like, you know, it's like, they've done something different, or, you know, I can imagine it's easy. Anyone of you listening could probably relate to this too. It's easy to come down on self, and it's not so much about you, it's about them. And, you know, and just knowing that like, hey, it's what's best for them. So, so I love that, man. That's awesome. And congratulations for spending that time and that effort. And, you know, it is like on my side, the tough agent side, we have like 20 team members on staff and, you know, hundreds of agents across the country. And so it's, you know, it's a lot sometimes, but at the end of the day, it's just, you know, trust the process.
Right.
So I kind of want to shift a little bit because I like to, you know, it's one thing to go into your story, who you are, why you got in real estate, what have you. But there's also something to be said about value. And I feel like we've given the viewers and listeners a lot of value. And so anyone who's now curious about you and your story and why the heck real estate, right? I'm curious also personally to why you even picked this industry and even went down this path when there's so many different things you could be doing. Was this because of family? Did you stumble upon real estate? Like, how did you even get to this point?
Definitely stumbled into it. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. So in college, I was like a recording studio kind of number two in this independent recording studio, and I loved
Really?
it. I'm a musician myself, played in bands in high school, all that good stuff, but
Okay.
I am not like super music theory trained. I'm more of, you know, self-taught, more guess and check. And
Okay.
I deemed that I didn't want to go down the music production path because I deemed that I had a disadvantage because that my boss back then was super music theory, and I just viewed him different than me. And so
Okay.
I was like, no, I'm going to go to law school actually, and
Interesting.
to represent musicians. Everything was music related up until a few years ago. So
Wow.
it shifted from I'm going to be the producer to I'm going to be the lawyer that represents artists. And you know, took a year off of after graduating college, studied for the LSAT, did really well, got into my number one school, BS'd my way into a scholarship, which is a whole other story. That was actually the first time I realized that I had the gift of gab. Was I ran my mouth at this like hour-long networking thing, and I wasn't going to get a scholarship originally, and
Mm,
I kind of BS'd a little bit at this thing, and I got a
mm.
phone call the next morning that $60,000 was opened up in an emergency meeting to offer me. And I called my dad and told him that, and we both were just like, think about the ROI, like the hourly rate of me running my mouth on that 1 hour at this event. So yeah.
That's
So
sick.
but I kind of had this epiphany after that because I was working in a law firm, and I just kind of realized like, wait a second, I'm not gonna love this because
Mm.
the work I'm doing like is so far removed from the actual music and the creation and the artistry that's really more my background. Who cares if those are my clients? If anything, artists are gonna show up late, pay me late, you know.
Of course. Of
um,
course.
and at the time, my best friend and I were kind of like working with artists, like, you know, after hours in the studio that I used to work at. Then he actually took my spot in. And so I sat my parents down at the dinner table, and I'm like, guys, I'm not going to go to law school. I know that was like the direction this train had been heading for like a year and a half now, but I'm not going to do it. I need to, you know, just really figure this whole music thing out. And my mom brings up that I should get my real estate license in this conversation because she got her license later in life. You know, it was kind of after my sister and I didn't need stay-at-home mom anymore. Like that was
Yeah. Yeah.
where she like kind of her purpose was she got into real estate. And
Okay.
you know, she was like, why don't you just get licensed and I'll throw you on a few deals, you know, that way you can make a little bit of money while you're figuring out how to make money in music.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fast forward a decade later, I never figured out how to make money in music,
Dang.
and got really good at real estate. And you know, it's funny because all during my 20s, I would sell houses to just finance what ended up turning into we had our own recording studio
Mhm.
and then our own record label. The record label is where the costs got out of control.
Yeah. I can
Um,
imagine.
it was so, I mean, we did cool stuff, and I'm so glad that we had the experience. Like I'll never wake up and have a midlife crisis like, damn, I should have tried. Like we tried. Came very close, had a lot of like near makes and all that stuff. But ultimately I'm really glad that everything went the way that it did because it allowed me when I turned 30 to just be like, you know what, I think it's time to hang that chapter up. It had shifted from I'm selling houses to finance my passion of music
Yeah.
to I'm actually way more passionate about the real estate business. It speaks to my soul way better. I love that when I have a good game plan and I execute the work, I am rewarded for that. And in music, there's just this X factor that's out of your hands that I got really frustrated about that business model or lack thereof a business model, so to speak. And so I was like, wait a second, like I'm paying for staff in music and I'm just lighting money on fire in that world. Meanwhile, I can't shift into the next gear in real estate and really build my team yet because
Yeah.
my resources are dispersed, and I'll go on
Mhm.
tour for a week or two throughout the year. So it was just a big shift to like, let's hang that hat up and go all in on like building this as big as we can build it. And that's pretty much right around when I started the team, and right
Wow.
around COVID.
Dude, that's a dope story, man. And I can kind of see like now it all kind of comes together because like your vibe, like even your sign behind you, the creative kind of like arts and how it feels. And dude, congratulations for at least trying. All right,
Thank
that's all we
you.
can do in life is try. So you had music out there, some records and what have
Oh
you?
yeah. We had artists like our kind of main one, like we played Bonnaroo, we did South by Southwest, like we had
Nice.
placements in film and TV. Like it was all cool, but there was no business model of it. It was just kind of like pour gasoline on the fire until it eventually catches. And there's like scattered income here and there, but like the
Mm,
labels where it got gnarly, because the studio was, once we built it out and bought all our equipment, it was really just like rent after
wow.
that was like the overhead.
Yeah.
The label was where it got gnarly, because
Mm,
the better I got at real estate, the bigger the budgets got. Like, for example, the first music video we did, which was a great music video, was a scrappy one, and we did it on a $2,500 budget. And the final one that I did, it's so cool and I'm so proud of it, and I'm glad that I have this forever, but that was a $25,000 music
wow.
video that has no return on it, that we then spent $1,500 on YouTube advertising to get like a few 100,000 YouTube views. But it's like, wait a second, like when does this turn into like a business really?
Yeah.
And so it was fun though. Like I really don't regret it. I learned a lot. It was an experience I needed to go through, but it was definitely time to kind of hang that up.
Yeah, interesting. So, kind of to spin this, and this is, I never
Mhm.
even thought the show was going to go down this road here, but without dropping any names, we know who they are. They're in the real estate space. They have huge Instagram presence. They're singing, they're doing dances, they're rapping, whatever,
Mhm.
and they wanted to be in the music career, I can imagine, but then they're in real estate, and then by default they're doing music videos or what have you, and kind of doing a quirky spin-off on rap or singing in our space, right?
Mhm.
And so it's interesting because like you see them, and I don't want to drop any names just because the production isn't really there in contrast to the level of production with the music video and their social
Mhm.
presence and what have you. And then, they're getting on stages and speaking and whatever and trying to help people with their social presence or whatever the case may be. But it's kind of interesting that you didn't really, and maybe you have, take a spin off on maybe one of your videos for, I don't know, like a 2, 3, 4, $5 million listing, and like do something kind of music video esque. Maybe have you done that?
It's so funny that you say that, because one of our big, like, unique seller propositions is lifestyle videos. At our listing appointments, we go into the whole spiel where we're like, look, we don't believe that buyers buy houses because the kitchen is pretty, for example. We believe buyers buy houses because of the lifestyle that they view comes with it.
Mm,
So, we'll hire actors, get cars, whatever the hell it is, to like kind of do whoever the buyer avatar is for that property. Like we're going to create like this lifestyle thing.
mm,
Sellers jaws drop to the floor. That's also our most premium commission package. So we like sell the premium package, and then they're almost
yeah.
disappointed if they don't pick our most expensive one for that. So but it's I have so much fun with those, because I feel like I'm back on the set of these like super pretentious like high art music videos, and
Interesting.
we're just having fun with it. Like we're just coming up with stuff on the fly, and I act in some of them, and we're just having fun. And puts me a little bit back in that like creative, like producer headspace.
Yeah.
And Our budgets are obviously peanuts compared to what I was doing. The stakes, I mean, I shouldn't say the stakes are low because we're marketing, beautiful properties for our clientele, but I know we're going to execute on it. So I'm not nervous about the outcome or anything. So that's been like kind of fun, actually, like to just kind of still get to be a little creative. I mean, I'm not like on stage, like with a guitar or anything, like singing real estate spoofs, but, I don't know. I've actually on my Instagram, there's like every once in a while I'll be like, oh, because I'm like a former emo kid from back in the day. So like I've had these thoughts of like maybe like going down the path that you're kind of alluding to here, but I just don't have the time, man.
Dude, right? I mean, that's cool though. You infuse the DNA from your past endeavors and you put it into the current, and it's, I mean, you're seeing it on YouTube so much more. Like you have these YouTube creators and a lot of passive prospecting happening out there. And then you have, the listing itself is great to market, and you're seeing agents now marketing more of like the lifestyle, like you said, or, here's your local shopping center, like a couple amazing restaurants you can go to. Here's your like local park, local schools, whatever, just so people could start to imagine what it would look like. Cause like my wife and my daughter are from the Bay Area, California, before we moved over here to Gilbert, Arizona. I'm like 25 minutes from like Scottsdale. And so I went on YouTube and just watched a bunch of videos to kind of get an idea of what it would be like to move here. And then I bought this house sight unseen. And that was just off of like that was just off FaceTime, but I didn't get to see an elaborate video like that. But I can imagine when you do get those videos, and you're gonna be paying a premium. We got this house for super cheap. So ugliest house in the nicest block, and it's been an amazing return. But that's cool, man. That's cool. I want to, anyone who's viewing and watching, like, go check out Kyle's videos. Go follow him on Instagram. Go see some of the stuff that he's done, because I feel like it should be more fun, man. I feel like a lot of entrepreneurs, if they forget that, like, why are you doing this for? And if you have more fun and you laugh, like, you live longer and you have a better positive mental attitude, and you could just like, show your clients, like, check this out, we could do this for you. And they're like, dude, it's sick. Like, and then you could just vibe out and have some fun with like marketing a listing. That's super cool. I love that.
Yeah, it's fun. It's super fun.
Yeah. Well, hey, who knows? Maybe you 2025 can branch out just a little bit and give us some of Kyle's personality and maybe do something kind of fun. Cause I know what it's like, right? It's like when you're in your 20s, you get sidetracked on all the things and then not making any money. And then you get focused on the one thing, and then you're, oh, okay, now I can actually make money from what I'm doing. And then, you don't want to be too sidetracked, and all your agents can be trying to follow suit with you.
Right.
Funny videos like, wait now, hold on. Can't forget about our core competency here. I love this, man. I love this. So I think our viewers and listeners got a lot of context, and I'm glad that we went in the route of like supporting people from the perspective of like they want to follow in your shoes, and or potentially just joining your team, and then giving them some context as far as how you got to where you're at. Who knows, maybe we'll get you back on the show again, and we can just check in and see how things are going in like a year or so. So your goals again for this year, as far as maybe growing the team, top line, right, family served and what have you, what does that look like again? Because who knows, maybe someone out there wants to join your team, help you part of your goals.
That would be amazing. We are absolutely actively recruiting and growing. So yeah, it was 200 families served, and then 175 million are our goals. And that will probably mean that the agent count needs to grow to 50 or so, hopefully a little more. That's actually one of the things that I've gotten a lot better at is we're very good at eliminating agents from the group that just aren't, hitting on the same level or aren't taking it as seriously. We would probably have, like, if we didn't offboard the way that we do, we'd probably have at least 60 or 70 agents, honestly.
Wow.
But that's been really, really, really cool. I got into a good groove of it really within the last year and a half or so. Because initially I was way too picky and selective and careful with like who I was giving the offers to come join the team. And really what I've found, like we 100% have standards. Like I want agents to be full-time or as like close to full-time as possible. If you're brand new, I understand how, that might be a little tricky, but no 9 to 5, that's absolutely won't work. Prior sales background is always nice too, but still, in general, like I'm willing to give somebody a shot because we just don't know how they're going to perform until you throw them in. And we have like performance standards, like, you know, if they're a new agent, before they even get assigned a mentor, they have to go through this kind of 21-day challenge, which is not at all results based. It is all just effort based. Like, did you do these calls? Did you add to the database? We have like AI role play as well that we want them to do. And so it's like, if you're putting in the work, then we will like lean in, you know, with you. But so many talk a big game, and then it's clear that like this is not a priority of theirs. And, you know, we're just not a social club. Like we're way too kind of full throttle. And we're way too invested to focus on people that aren't doing that. So it's absolutely like we'll give you a shot. And if it's not working, like, okay, it didn't work out, no hard feelings, but there's just better fits for you. So that has gotten us now to the point where, the producing agent count, like that's such an important metric because, you know, teams talk all the time about how many agents they have, but if like, you know, that agent doesn't sell any houses or they sell one a year, like what's the point of that really? And then you're spending resources on them. Your staff is giving them time and attention. So, you know, by doing what we've been doing, we've really kept our agent count kind of similar actually for 6 months, maybe 10 months or so. But by keeping the agent count similar, our producing agent count has gotten way, way, way higher. We're not quite at 35 in that regard. We've added more new agents that we still have to see kind of how they work out and stuff, but it's really picked up. And that's a huge reason why, again, like 2024 was such a better year financially. Like I already talked about me doing a little solo production as well, but this concept as well is probably more profound, actually for sure more profound in terms of why 2024 was like a great financial year compared to years prior for the team, you know, the team leaders' financials. So
I absolutely agree, and I can relate to you because anyone viewing and listening out there, vanity metrics are just that. It's vanity, right? Like I thought to myself, I was like with you on the team, and I grew my team, and I was like, oh, cool, you know, we have this many people on staff, and then you're around these individuals, and you're just like, I'm just not happy. Like I'm just not happy with these people I'm around. And you had to like, right. You have to deep dive into, and there's a time in my career close to COVID where I had to get rid of everyone. It was just me and my partner. We started all over again and changed the staff up. And I think anyone who's viewing and listening out there, like, yeah, it's cool to have like a big team and show these big numbers. And even from the downline perspective, but if no one's producing,
right.
You know, and they're bringing down that one bad apple spoils the bunch. Right. Then you're like, you know, you're not producing, then you're trying to coach. And then you have other people who are just like not following suit. They're just trying to go to happy hour. Then they're bringing another 3 or 4 other agents. And you're like, hey, where are you guys at? What are you doing? We have leads to follow up. Oh, we're a happy hour. And you're like, what? Okay, well, I guess I'm going to do production now, or I'm going to give your leads to someone else. So kudos to you to have those KPIs, key performance indicators, and those standard operating procedures to really look at, you know, where does the rubber meet the road and where does those income producing activities need to follow suit? Because I think a lot of big teams out there, you know, they don't go through that process and they'll grow really quick and then they'll go backwards. Because I think that there's something to be said too, where, you know, we just saw what happened in 2024 because of now it's a buyer's market, interest rates are high, the market's been kind of funky, NAR case, what have you. A lot of agents had to see their way out automatically on their own. So I think a lot of big top teams, you know, they had no choice, but they lost a bunch of agents. So if you're not doing that already, I think whoever's reviewing and listening, like, do that. Set up a process and a system to be able to, you know, have those metrics so you can really be able to quantify who's on your team, what's happening. That's super smart.
Yeah, totally. And even just for your top agents that are really the core of your organization, like they don't want mediocrity to surround them, you know? So it's just so important. And I think for your business, correct me if I'm wrong, but like you're paying salaries for the majority of your people, right? So yeah, for you, it's really like you have to be mindful of that because if somebody's not pulling their weight and there's like this big salary, like makes all the sense in the world to address that immediately and move forward. I think with real estate team leaders, you know, we're not paying a salary to every agent on our team. So for some, it's so easy to just be like, oh, I don't really care. Like if they sell a house a year, like I'll make my little piece on that. Like, you know, their licensing fees for all the tech that we use and all that, maybe it comes out to I don't know, like 100 a month. So I'm not really losing money that way. But it's like, I don't want to be surrounded by just people taking up space. And I don't
Yeah.
think my top agents want that. And it just feels like the right way to grow to me.
Yeah, I 100% love that, man. And this has been phenomenal. I know that, we both have tight schedules, so I want to be respectful of that. And so if you want Kyle back on, you got to like this episode, subscribe, and give us your feedback, because this has actually been a lot of fun. And I would love to recap and have you back on.
Yeah,
and as we do close out our episodes, we do like to put the stage on you. And, you've given tons of value, which has been amazing. But is there something that you're working on that you want to promote? Is there just advice you want to give out to the viewers and listeners out there? Like, what's the final golden nugget you want our viewers and listeners to take from our show today as we close out?
I guess the final nugget would be that I'd love to be in partnership with really whoever out there. If you're in LA or the surrounding area of LA, we do Ventura County, Orange County, Riverside, like anywhere in that kind of SoCal kind of region. Would love to have you on Serene Team as a producing agent. And if you're not in that market, I would love to be your mentor and, provide the same kind of degree of coaching. I share with people in my EXP downline, they get access to all the Serene Team resources, our Google Drive, all that stuff. So I really feel like we could do some damage together, really regardless of where you're at, but especially if you're in LA, would love to talk about you possibly joining Serene Team.
Dude, servant's heart, man. I love it. Go follow, check this man out. Kyle Draper, it's been a pleasure for you being on Real Estate First Technology. We're going to definitely have to recap in a year or so time. Yeah. So thank you so much for your time and give us an opportunity to shine some light on you, your story, and all the things that you're doing, bro.
Thank you. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, of course. And hey, all our viewers and listeners out there, subscribe, notification bell. Big thanks to Liftoff for sponsoring the show. And it is our intention for you to take things from our episode, apply to your business, have more massive success. So go take Kyle up on his offer, and we'll see you all on. Thanks for tuning in today.